Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. I'm going to go quick overview of the Michigan and Oklahoma game this weekend, how I think that's going to go. Um, right off the rip, I want to say, obviously, I hope Michigan wins. That's Michigan fan. If you hadn't noticed, obviously. However, I think that this is not so simple as just, hey, I think Michigan's going to win. Uh, obviously, Oklahoma played Eastern Illinois last weekend, completely dominated them as to be expected, 35-3. Um, Their main starting running back didn't play much. Jaden Ott, he was a transfer from, somewhere in Washington, I believe. So we haven't really had a chance to see what he can do, and they rotated a bunch of other backs. So it's hard to say what Michigan will be facing in terms of the rushing attack from Oklahoma. Oklahoma does have a strong passing attack. Their quarterback threw for like 393 yards. Granted, it was Eastern Illinois, but that still is a lot of yards, and he was efficient. I think he only had 1 interception, which is 3 to 1 is not bad in a game. Um, so that's gonna be tough. Michigan's defense did give up 17 points to New Mexico, and while it is New Mexico, that is still a lot of points for a team to score against what was supposed to be an elite or relatively elite defense, maybe not elite as like the past couple years, but still very good. So I think there's gonna be some tests that come with that. I personally, as like I said, as much as I want Michigan to win, I think Bryce Underwood being a freshman quarterback going into Norman, Oklahoma, and these people are gonna want a signature win. For Brett Venables is gonna want to put this on his resume that he beat Michigan. I mean, who wouldn't really? But at the same time, I think this is really going to be a tough test, and honestly, it's going to be a close game regardless of who wins. The unbiased part of me wants to say that Oklahoma has the better odds to win this. I hope Michigan wins because it'd also be a statement win. Beat Oklahoma is nothing to sneeze at for sure. But I think Oklahoma wins at home more than likely. So, and while they are not projected to do amazing this season, I I hope that if they do beat Michigan this weekend, I hope that they continue to win so that, you know, pulls Michigan up. But, if Michigan wins, it'll have to be because they let Bryce Underwood use his talent and let him run. You didn't see that much last week. Didn't have to be fair. Justice Haynes basically did all the work himself, 159 yards on like 20 some carries. So he did great. But they're going to need him to step up and mature very quickly because this is going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of noise. It's going to be a hostile environment. Although Oklahoma fans, just in my experience, generally tend to be decent people. So I don't think hostile in the negative sense. Mostly it'll just be not a friendly crowd. So as you can tell by the screen, Michigan's only played Oklahoma once before, and it was a loss, 6-14, which is typical. Ground and pound. One team doesn't only manage to score by luck. So that is, I'm not surprised. But they've only played once before, so maybe it'll be 1-1. Maybe on two. We'll see what happens. But like I said, I think Oklahoma carries it at home. I think the crowd is going to be the biggest factor there. But at the same time, I think that is good if Michigan gets a loss out of the way earlier in the season, and it lets the freshmen like Bryce Underwood and the other ones had, allows them to evaluate even more where they're at against what could be one of their best opponents for the next couple weeks. So, I on the other side of that is if Oklahoma's defense does not step up, because they didn't look set on the line. I believe I was watching Joel Klatt, and he had mentioned they didn't look set on the line, so I looked at the highlights, and there were times when, while just by sheer talent, they're good enough to not necessarily be set and still make plays. They won't get away with that against Michigan. So if they have those problems against Michigan and the rushing attack with Justice Haynes and the abilities of Bryce Underwood, who's undeniably talented, then Michigan could make them pay, and this could turn and get pretty ugly. and Oklahoma could get, dog walked at home, which I find unlikely, but it is possible. So, like I said, I think Oklahoma wins, but Michigan is still talented enough to be up there, and it is not out of the realm possibilities that they do win. So, I do see us being like a 24-21, 31-28 kind of game. Uh, Michigan's running attack versus Oklahoma's passing attack. That's what I think it's going to come down to, and the whichever line holds up the best. So, um, I got a lot of respect for Oklahoma. They're great. They've had great teams, and there's still a lot of talent on that team. So it's going to be a tough matchup. And yeah. Uh, Also, in other news, NFL started last night. I did catch parts of the Eagles Cowboys game. That was bizarre. Jalen Carter, what are you doing? That's all I have to say about that. That's crazy. But you know what? That's what it is. The refs are starting to dole out these taunting penalties now, which some of those are that's going to be a point of controversy throughout the year, clearly. But yeah, I while I'm not deep into the NFL like I am with college, I obviously follow the Lions quite a bit, so I'll probably do something on them in the upcoming weeks. I believe they play the Bears as their first game, the Bears or the Packers, one of the two. I'd have to look it up, but I really hope they win. It's good for the whole division when all the teams are really good, and it's just good for the state when the pro teams are, you know, carrying their weight in terms of wins and all that. Because if anybody is watching football knows, Detroit has had their down years, and by down years, I mean down decades. So, let's just hope that that is, last year was great, and, they fell apart at the end of the year against Washington, unfortunately, but Jayden Daniels is also really good. So, you know, they lost to somebody who was worth losing to in some respects. But hopefully, they're able to pull it out and Detroit wins. That'd be awesome. Um, yeah. Thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe, hit notification and all that. And I hope everybody's having a great day, has a great weekend. Yeah. Peace.